Good morning and welcome to the October 10th County Commission meeting. If you'd stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning, and just a reminder, if you have your cell phones with, please silence those. The meeting documents are available for review next to Commissioner Bender, and if you need a listening device, Carol can help you with that. With that, we'll go into routine business. Item 1 is to consider a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any changes, corrections? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Item 2 is to approve the commission minutes from October 3rd.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any corrections, changes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Item 3, bills to be paid of $3,649,483.94.
Pay the bills.
Second.
Is there any comments?
I would just
Commissioner.
again, Mr. Chairman, remark that the $3 million is basically passed through from our county treasurer to the state.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other comments? We have a motion and a second to approve those bills. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Item 4 is a report of the County Highway Construction Project report. That is for October 2017, and that's on file for review. Item 5 is personnel actions. Item A is to consider a motion to approve the routine personnel action.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Item B is a special commission action to consider a request to approve the early hire for the new deputy sheriff position included in the 2018 payroll budget. Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning, Carrie Deaver from Human Resources. This is a request similar to others that you hear at this time of the year. This position has been approved as part of the 2018 payroll budget. We would like approval to hire early. A few reasons for that. We currently have an application pool where we could hopefully get a candidate. Second, the law enforcement certification class starts later this year, and if we can hire now, we'd be able to get that person in. And third, we've got the salary savings to cover the cost. Joe is here if you have any additional questions, but our request is to be able to hire early if possible.
Thank you, Carrie. Any questions for Carrie this morning? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. There's no applications for abatement. Item 7, notice and request. Item A is to authorize the auditor to publish a notice of public hearing for the 2018 liquor license renewal application for establishment that has had alcohol compliance violations.
Motion to approve the publication?
Is there a
Second.
second? We have a motion and a second to approve the publication. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Item B is the first reading and authorize the auditor to publish a notice of public hearing on October 24th to consider an ordinance enacting the 2017 Minnehaha County Revised Animal Control Ordinance and for the repeal of the 2002 Minnehaha County Animal Control Ordinance and any other resolutions, rules, and regulations in conflict. Carol Muller. I see we also have people here from the animal control group. You're hiding behind the computer, but I still see you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, in front of you is a notice that has been well worked on and significantly thought out in terms of updating the animal control ordinance. I would let the Humane Society speak, and Attorney Gillespie was the one also who's put a lot of time and effort into the updates. So do either of you want to make any comments?
We'll let the experts talk from the Humane Society. You'll need to introduce yourself too, please.
Good morning. I'm Corey Beatty, the Executive Director of the Sioux Falls Area Humane Society. And I have with me Officer Andy A. Strike, who works in the field with us as a humane officer. This kind of started as and I don't know if everybody remembers, but we had kind of a situation, it's been about a year now, where an animal was missing, and it went very viral on social media and the public and on the news, where an animal was lost in the county, brought into the Humane Society, actually stayed the time it was supposed to stay, and then we ended up adopting the animal out to a new family. What we were trying to get done here is that the 2002 ordinances are kind of out of date at this point. Basically a definition of what is a stray and what is a seized animal. So we've kind of gone through, and Maggie's been very, very helpful to us as far as going through these ordinances, just kind of looking at what's old, what's new, what needs to be changed, what needs to be public, as far as new things that the people need to worry about. The biggest thing on here is just the definitions piece. Stray versus seized animals. Strays are the animals that run at large. Seized animals are animals that have been picked up in the county by our humane officers. Whether or not that be from a law enforcement assist, it might be from an accident, it might be just in general that they're not being cared for properly. So that's kind of the first part. We also are looking at, unfortunately, we have a lot of new kind of animals that are coming into our midst. Small alligators that people are considering as pets, some venomous snakes, poisonous tarantulas, and other arachnoids. People love to have these funky spiders and things for pets, and they're really not pets, but they can hurt people. They can be poisonous to children and others. So that is a piece that we really think is really important. There are also some oddity shops that are opening up that do various different animals. They have on display for people to buy. We have, unfortunately, they've used cats that have been, that are already deceased, where they're actually selling those cats that have been, in canning jars. Also alligators, small alligators that have been brought to us, not so much legally, been flown in from areas of the country that we have no idea where they're coming from. Obviously, little alligators become big alligators, so that is a portion of this particular thing that exotic animals need to be looked at. The last thing I think that is very important is the rabies control. We have a lot of laws already and nice ordinances that cover us for this, but one of the things that is happening in the city is that they have now passed an ordinance where people cannot feed stray cats. We worry about that in the fact that people can get rabies from these animals if they are bitten. We don't always know which animal bit because there's so many of them out there, and we're trying to basically control that pet population. We are in the midst of a very, very aggressive strategic plan at the Humane Society where at some point we're going to be fixing everything. Spay and neutering, which costs a lot of money. So we're trying to get these cats that are out there in Minnehaha County picked up, trapped. If we can find new homes for them, that's great, but they're causing quite a nuisance. So the stray and running at large is really, really important in that fact. The other thing that the city has done is they passed a vicious animal ordinance. And I don't know if the county wants to address that at some point, but we would like to bring it up anyway. We use the Dunbar bite scale. We helped out the city with their ordinances not very long ago. Where we go by this scale, it's where people, there's a severity of bites is basically what it is. It helps us and others, veterinarians, medical personnel, that where people get bit by an animal that go to the ER or wherever it might be, where we can find out if this animal is truly vicious or if it's something that happened where maybe a child pinched its nose or whatever. So we're just trying to make it safer, I guess, for people.
It's based on the wound pathology, which is, it can really tell you a lot about the bite, the severity of the bite and how aggressive that animal was going at that person. And it kind of defines it very well for if you were to end up in court about it, So you have this document to kind of help define the aggressiveness of the bite and the danger of the bite.
And basically, as far as the ordinance is concerned, what we tried to write in here is just general, simple safety updates, basically, for our community. We're not getting any smaller. The animal populations are not getting any smaller. We want to make sure that we're doing what we can to return pets to their families if that's the case. And it's been to the point of where we've had people who have not even checked on their animals for 7 days to a week. You know, we run them through the system. All of a sudden, they get up for adoption. A new family comes. They love the animal. They want to take it home. So we have to adopt it out because we can't keep them forever. But with a family or someone who doesn't come in and check if their animals are around, you know, quite frankly, it's hard to give them back to people who really don't care in the first place. So we want to make sure that we're giving a good notice to people. It's usually 3 days without any identification before we turn them over to the adoption floor, get all their shots updated, microchipped, all of those types of things that we do on our own dime, so that we can get them out to the public. And 5 days if they have identification. So if they have a collar, if they're chipped, if they're whatever, we can have time to get a hold of those pet parents and make sure that their animals get back to them. So I think those are the big points that I think that we've addressed here. As far as enforcement, we've always had the authority for our officers to go out and pick these animals up. We also have just a simple language change basically that just states that we still have that authority to do so and assist law enforcement where necessary. We've had a lot of deputies that call and they want us to go out. They're on another call, something more important. So our officers have gone out and helped them in various cases. So we just still need that same authority. I think that's about really kind of the gist of it. It's not anything that's new or, flashy or anything. This is really just from a 2002 to 2017, there's just a lot of changes in our animal world. So.
Thank you. Any questions? Dean?
Just curious, the unfortunate circumstances with that one animal being adopted out.
Mhm.
If don't have a pet anymore, but had a dog for a number of years, so just people know that I do like dogs.
We like that you like dogs.
If an animal gets away and I report it to you, or I go out there and look, no, my dog's not here. I mean, can I put my name on a list to be notified if an animal that appears like that? Or is that
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you take a website where you have animals that are brought in that have photos of them that I could look at on a daily basis?
We also have a lost report now. We've really updated our social media. It's pretty large now. We have quite a few viewers on that, and we have a place where people can actually file a lost report there. They can call the Humane Society. They can also call the city emergency animal control number. Even though we're separate people, we work together, obviously. They also can, a lot of people use social media. And they'll put pictures out, and we see those. We're very, as far as going out every day, we always hear people that, an animal looks like this. We do everything that we can to return those animals. In that particular unfortunate situation, the parents were out of town. The son was supposed to be watching the dog, but he ended up 11 miles from his house. So really shouldn't have been running at large in the first place. And I remember when you went and picked him up, he was a concerned citizen called and said, this animal's running around. Super nice dog, super nice. But we didn't hear from them at all. Later, it was a really difficult situation for us to get through because we did everything we could, follow the laws and everything, and then had to go back and try to find out if the new owners wanted to give that dog up, which is also, puts them in a very bad place. So I think but we do everything we can to get them back for sure. And they don't even, for the most part, you guys, if you know who the owner is, they bring them back before we don't want to bring them to the shelter. We don't have to. Right now we're over 375 cats, and we probably have just under 600 animals. We received 671 last month alone. So we want them to go back to their families.
We also, one of the things I always tell people, if you have ID on, I'd rather bring your dog back. We don't have a shortage of dogs.
We're not short of any
shortage
animals.
of cats. and our thing is, if they have ID and we can get a hold of them, we're going to take them home. That's where we want them. They're like, times have changed. They're like family members, And if somebody calls with the lost report, one thing I always say, come on in. You can come 7 days a week. You can come to our shelter. You can come every day and look and see. because what you may call a tabby may be what somebody else calls a tortie, you know. So we encourage to send pictures of your animal. There's several websites. They have Craigslist, Lost Pets. We have where you can fill out a form. We take them over the phone. We really encourage it because, once again, we do not have a shortage of animals, and we want those animals to get back to their family. And it's sad sometimes because, you know, they don't always think. So then we did a free microchip clinic. We also did I think Schulte. You can have free tags made. You can run down there and get free tags for your dog. And we just say, simply put the name of the pet and the phone number on there, and we'll get back to you, you know. We're trying to responsible pet ownership, because we never want that to happen again. By the way, Jake is our poster child, and we utilized him for that.
Commissioner Heiberger?
One question. I noticed that you had changed the terrifying and terrorizing words, and that's what the state law is, but the city is not there. And I'm just wondering, do you think the city will be changing? Because, I mean, this is where we are, and this is and so if our ordinances are different than the city, that might be more confusing than if ours are different than the state. And so that was my only concern, and
As far as the,
was the definition, and I can't find the page, I did read it, but
I think it was for the.
terrorizing, it was a definition.
Definition of vicious animal, I believe.
Yes, the vicious animal ordinance. And I think, as far as that, you know, I mean, to me, it really isn't, it doesn't matter to us. I mean, when an animal is vicious, it's vicious. And, that's both terrifying and very scary to anyone. So I guess, you know, as far as the language is concerned, I mean, that part of it, you know, would be, of course, up to the county.
Other questions? Maggie, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
You know, the only thing that I would say is, thanks to the outline that's been provided, but as to that terrorizing definition and terrifying, initially, this process is prior to the city ordinances being changed, is when the review of trying to bring this into line with state law occurred, to strike the terrorizing and just leave it as terrifying. And then it was subsequent to that the city had come in to amend theirs. And so I guess that's a discussion that you'll want to have, you know, at the hearing, and decide, you know, whether or not there's a consequence to that. So we'll have to just work through that process and
Right.
See what you choose to do about that. But that's why we started out trying to bring it into line with state law, and then the city now, in the last month, having amended their ordinance, so.
Good question. Any other comments or questions? Is there a motion to publish the notice of public hearing?
Moved.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the auditor to publish a notice of the public hearing on October 24th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Thank you for coming, ladies.
Thank you very much.
Item 8, planning and zoning notices. There are not any, and we don't have a petition for compromise of lien. We're at the point for an opportunity for public comment. If anyone would like to make any public comments, we'd be happy to hear those now. Commissioner Heiberger.
I have one from Bob Colby. He was unable to be here this morning, and he asked me if I would just pass this on. And that is a Mr. Kurt Eggers from Renner, passed away this last week, I believe it was. I couldn't find his obituary in the paper, but he was a 93-year-old World War II vet. And his wife worked for the county for a number of years and has also passed away, but he was a very active member in our community. He sat on the water board, and he was on the conservation district for many years. And just Bob's point was that he gave selflessly of his life to work of the citizens without pay, and was always willing to step forward and do the right thing. And Bob would have been here to remember him, but he's out of town, so just wanted to pass that on. I did not personally know him, but I have heard his name before, so.
Thank you.
I'd add to that the Eggers family in Mapleton Township is their name has always been on the election board of supervisors. So they have one more thing they've added to. So,
Mr. Litz, do you have something else that you'd like to add?
not
On
to
public comment?
that. No, I'm sorry. No, I do not.
Oh, okay. We'll go to item number 10, and that's to consider a motion to declare the auto marks as surplus for the purpose of trade-in on the express vote machines in accordance with the agreement among the Auditor's Office, the Secretary of State, and the ES&S, an election vendor. Mr. Litz.
Good morning, Commission. Bob Litz from the Auditor's Office, and recently we received Commission authorization to move forward with the purchase of the new express vote election machines to replace the aging inventory of automarks that are required for federal elections. We have an inventory of 74 automark machines on our capital asset list, and I am asking to have those machines declared as surplus for the purpose of trade-in to ES&S. In doing so, we will receive a $200 per unit trade-in on the purchase of the express vote machines. Incidentally, we have taken possession of the express vote machines, and the auto marks need to be vacated from that space in order to have an area in which to set up the new machines early in November. Now, today we're requesting action to declare the auto marks as surplus for the purpose of trade-in for the express vote machines in accordance with the agreement among the Auditor's Office, Secretary of State, and ES&S, our election vendor.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Litz? If not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to declare the auto marks as surplus. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Item 11 is to consider a motion to accept the highest bid and approve resolution for the 2017 sale of tax deed properties RDID 76376 and RDID 63906.
Good morning, Bob Litz from the Auditor's Office again. The annual tax deed sale was held on Saturday, September 30th. There were 4 properties advertised to be sold at the auction. The following 4 properties were auctioned, and the high bids received are as follows. Tax deed number 2600 RDID 76376 went for $400. Tax deed number 2602 RDID 63906 went for $6,400. Those properties, those 2 were paid in full the day of the sale. The other 2 tax deed properties, number 2574 RDID 11897, sold for $13,181. Tax deed number 2601 RDID 52766 sold for $97,000. Those last 2 put down the required 10%, and the balance will be due in 30 days, within 30 days. The total sale proceeds were $116,981. All sales are subject to a $30 ROD, Register of Deeds fees per sale. And what I'm requesting is that you accept the highest bid received on each property and approve the resolution of sale for the 2 fully paid properties. The remaining 2 will be brought forward upon receipt of the balance due on the sale.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about those transactions?
I'd make a motion to do as the auditor requests, but I do have questions afterwards.
Second.
Motion and a second. Mr. Barth?
Bob, so what account do these funds are they put in?
Well, what we'll do is we'll pay the back taxes on those, and then we will break those out and apportion them to the various entities that we normally do, send the property tax out to, and then the balance that's left over is for the county to go into the general fund.
And if I might, how many bidders were there at this particular? I've been there before, and there were like 4 guys that came.
This time here, I'm thinking we had 18, 19 people there. Is that accurate, Olivia? Yes, Olivia did her first sale there this time, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we have a motion to accept the the highest bid and approve the resolution of the tax deed properties. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Item 12 is to consider a motion to deposit the proceeds from the sale of the surplus of a 1998 Dodge Ram 3500 pickup sold to the city of Humboldt for $1,500 to the highway fund or to the general fund.
Make a motion to put $1,500 in the highway fund.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any questions? I'm
I
not-
will oppose that motion.
It's my pet peeve, so I'm not going to say a word. The dumbest fundraising event we have. Any other comments? We have a motion to approve to sell this, put the monies into the highway fund for the sale of that pickup and the proceeds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. Item 13 are liaison reports. Does anyone have any liaison reports? Commissioner Heiberger.
I have liaison reports for 3 weeks. So I wrote notes, so you just have to indulge me for a few minutes. I'm going to read through my notes. September 18th and 19th was a convention. I know that other commissioners have reported out on it, so I'll just be brief on that. I thought it was a very well-run convention. I went to the Secretary of State's discussion on voting, and even though it was geared more towards the auditor, I found it extremely interesting. I attended breakout sessions on the restoration and the collective impact initiative that Pennington County is doing. And just as a point of interest, Pennington County just recently received $1.75 million from the Arnold Foundation to continue their work on their pretrial and their collective impact initiative, which is similar to our triage concept. And I also believe from this news release that I read on the pretrial website that there is still opportunity for other grants out there in the future, and so hopefully we will be on the radar for that. Although with Pennington County getting that larger one, I don't know if they'll give the state of South Dakota any more money. The property tax one, and I found it was very concerning to me that Meade County is defending itself in court to uphold the state's ag evaluation. They had several of their rancher farmers out there suing the county because the county upheld the state's regulations of ag evaluation, and the state at this point has not helped. They said, we'll give you any information you need, but we're not interested in defending it. So Meade County has had a financial burden because of defending the state law. We also had a breakout session. Sheriff Kirk Taylor from Pueblo, Colorado spoke on the challenges of legalizing marijuana in their county. I found it interesting that their marijuana is approved county by county, and his county is one, obviously, that approved it. He discussed the plant counts and the sale of product, and he said by the number of plants, and he would lay out how many cigarettes you could make from your 4 to 6 plants that you were legally able to own, and there's no way that one person could smoke that many cigarettes in their whole entire life, let alone in a year, and that is cause law enforcement issues, because obviously they're selling it. He also talked about marijuana, THC, being stored in fat, and they're now finding that babies have that in their brains at birth. And it's a huge issue. And, you know, it's like, I wish we could make our public more aware of the problems with it. And he even said his mother-in-law or his grandmother, someone had used it as medical marijuana, and it was very effective for her end of life, but he said it's gotten way out of control. Our NACO first vice president, Greg Cox, was there. I was able to talk to him personally just a little bit about the initiative that he wants to push forward in a couple of years, which would be 211 nationally. He's from California, and the state of California has almost completely covered with 211 services. We also had Gordon Cruikshanks, who is the Western Region representative, and Linda Langstrom spoke on the benefits of NACO. Gordon does a monthly phone calls. I believe it's on the first Thursday of the month. They talk about all Western Region issues. You are welcome to get on that. I try to get on when I'm available at that time and listen to them. They're very interesting just because you hear what's going on in our region. They talk a lot about PILT, which doesn't maybe affect Minnehaha County, but there are a lot of interesting issues. And then there was a legislative conference, which I believe, I'm assuming Jeff or Dean probably talked about, so I won't talk about that. On September 20th, I went to a Fair Board meeting. We've been working on updating our bylaws and working on and I'm not, but they are working on a management agreement to bring to Minnehaha County. And I did inform them that our 2018 budget is already finalized and that funding changes would have to be in 2019. And then we discussed plans for next year's fair and entertainment, gate fees, et cetera. but no decisions at this point. And as Mark already reported out, we began work on the grandstand, and hopefully they were hoping to have it painted, but it sounds like maybe that won't happen. And the September 25th through the 27th, I was at the JDAI and the Juvenile Conference held here in Sioux Falls. This was the first JDAI state conference. As you know, I am the co-chair of the state JDAI expansion project in the state of South Dakota, so it was important that I was there. We had 80+ in attendance for our JDAI conference. It was an educational opportunity for other counties that are coming on board with JDAI. Those are Cottington, Brown, and Davison County, and was also a continuing education for Minnehaha and Pennington County to take what we're doing to the next level, to discuss problems and make plans for our next year's work plan. I think it was extremely successful. The counties that are working towards coming to JDAI were able to put together plans, and then we reported out of them, and just to hear some of the stuff that they have for alternatives in their community after sitting and visiting. It was pretty exciting to hear, and they sounded like they were very excited to be moving forward. The State Juvenile Summit followed that. There was an overview of services that are available through LSS and DSS, such as functional family therapy, moral recognition, which you always think it's a misspell, and I even looked it up in the dictionary. It's not in there, but that's what it is, recognition. And aggressive replacement training. We had another seminar breakout on understanding the science of the adolescent's brain and the development. The correlation between the size of a person isn't necessarily what their brain development is, and the brain not being fully developed. The kids obviously don't consider the consequences. It was very interesting. I'm sad I didn't take notes while I was listening. It was just one of those you really want to listen to and just soak it all up. We had a breakout on racial and ethnic disparity, which someone from Minnehaha County spoke at. We listened to, excuse me, school climate and justice reform. Excuse me. They flew in Georgia Juvenile Court Judge Teskey, and he just talked about the successes that they have had in the largest county in Georgia in keeping kids in school and increasing the graduation rates. He has a huge paper out there written, which I got a copy of. He was here in Minnehaha County about a month and a half ago, meeting with the school districts and with our staff to try to come up with a memorandum of understanding on how to deal with kids who are in the school district and what things we charge out in the court and what things we don't, in order to try to keep kids in school and do what's right for them in school and try to increase our own graduation rates. He was extremely interesting. On October 3rd, I was in Pierre for the mental health oversight bill on House Bill 1183. And at that, South Dakota Association of County Commissioners, Bob Wilcox, talked about the competency filings for reimbursements. Only 3 have been filed so far. I know Minnehaha County is working on them. There was discussion around if all 3 evaluations take place at one time, can we pull the competency part of the evaluation out of that and have that looked at separately? And that's still kind of up in the air. There'll be more work done on that, because a lot of times when they're ordered by the judge or asked for by public defenders, they lump all 3 different types of evaluations together. And I'm afraid right now, the way it's written, it specifically says competency, and so you have to make sure that the order is written properly in order for the county to get reimbursed. It's also, they talked about the importance of the bar and the judges when they're ordering competency evaluations, that they say competency and not written evaluations on orders. There was a discussion on crisis response trainings and the training, and some good points were brought up as far as we've already got trainers in some places in different counties, and how can we use them to help decrease the costs of them. DCI traveling around the state and completing the training for us, and so I think there'll be continued conversation on that. The jail screening group is looking at a screening tool that's already used in Cottington County, and the screening, the mental illness screening then would be done, hopefully completed in the first 72 hours of booking. I sit on the services group, and we had our first baseline call, which was on September 21st, and so we really didn't have anything to report at this time. It was basically setting the groundwork of what we wanted to do. Competency subgroup, let's see. That is what I just talked about. No, the competency subgroup also has had a baseline call, and they will be looking at how to shorten the jail stays, expedite the process, and monitor the competency funds and the time frame, and how they can be conducted or improved upon. And one more. I had a NACO phone call last week, and one of the points that they talked about was the opioid epidemic, stating that the president plans to declare an emergency declaration on opioids, but first they need to work through some of the logistics, which one would be figuring out the funding, how they're going to pay for this, and what they're actually going to do with the funding. Suggestions that have been brought forward thus far, and their planning is the prescription length of opioid prescriptions, and would there be a limitation on that? Instead of like 90 days of this opioid, you'd only get a week's worth, and then it'd have to be reevaluated. Or the other one was trying to speed up the development of non-opioid painkillers. And then they also mentioned that 18 counties in Ohio are suing pharmaceutical companies at this point. And that is my last 3 weeks. So.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
first of all, if I ever take another college class, would you be my lab partner, do all the work? So here, Cindy, on those evaluations, the state is going to reimburse for them, right?
The state gave money from Department of DHS, went to the association, the County Association, Commissioners Association. They gave us $125,000. $10,000 is being used for the administrative costs and for the lawyer that helped us write up the contract. The $115,000 that's left will be used for reimbursement of the competency evaluations only.
Okay,
And
but
there is
that
a
would
whole-
potentially come back to our county.
That will potentially come back to our county.
Are we tracking that so we can maybe,
Carol's office is working on that, and we've got till the 1st of November, I believe. The end of November? Yeah, the end of November to get in our paperwork for this first round of pays. There'll be 2 pay periods per year. And once the deadline hits, you have 1 month to get your paperwork in.
thank you.
Any other liaison reports? If not, any new business?
Bob Litz from the auditor's office, and I'm not sure if this is old business or new business. Gene and I had a little sidebar about it, and so we're going to go under new business here. What I'm doing here today is just presenting some information. We're not asking for any action here today. We will be in the future. And I apologize for bringing it up so quick. I've provided all of you with a letter. I've given Mr. Lee a copy of that as well. And one of them will be provided to Mark Walker at the Argus Leader as soon as I'm done here today. But we'll have plenty of time to look these things over and think about them. If you've got any questions today or later on, we certainly would be happy to answer them. On November 22nd, 2016, the Minnehaha County Commission adopted Resolution MC 16-66 relating to the issuance of certificates of participation for Minnehaha County's jail expansion project. The resolution authorized the execution and delivery of a lease purchase agreement and related documents in an amount not to exceed $46 million. We will ask that the Commission on its October 24th, 2017 meeting approve a December 5th sale date and authorize the publication of notice of sale in the county's legal newspapers. It is the Auditor's Office opinion that the 2017 A bond should be sold and closed in 2017. A December 5th, 2017 date is recommended for the sale of the bonds, and this will allow an even schedule of payments to take place with very little interest accumulated in 2017. There will be no huge balloon payment in 2018, and we've levied sufficient dollars to pay for any interest costs. If the sale is after 2017, it would require Minnehaha County to issue a new resolution according to our bond counsel. The county has already selected firms typical for a bond sale such as this. Each entity will have their own area of responsibility and expertise, and they are as follows. For our financial advisor, Doherty Company, as represented by Tom Grimman and Ray Woodson. And Tom Grimman is here today if we have any questions or if you want comments from him. Our bond counsel, Lindquist and Venom, as represented by Betsy Abbey. Our trustee will be U.S. Bank National Association. Our ratings agency, Moody's Service. All four of these above parties mentioned have been consistent with their business association with the county in the past. Currently, we have a 1AA bond rating, which is probably about as good as it's going to get unless you come up with an 18% budget reserve, which I don't see in the future. And then what that rating is going to be after we add this debt, the new $46 million onto our new one, we don't know. at this point here, but we think we're in about as good a position to get a good bond rating for this one as is possible. The underwriters are the fifth wheel of the business associates, and that's where the real money is. But that'll be determined by bid at the sale. And it's possible with a sale of this size that there will be more than one underwriter with a syndicate of other underwriters for the bonds. The underwriters will then be determined by the lowest true interest cost bid. Like I say, in Minnehaha County, we've had extensive dealings with all these folks except the underwriters, and we could wind up with one that we've had there before. On the type of sale, it's been discussed here, and I think it was generally agreed that a competitive sale would be the best route. Although about 78% of bond sales today are negotiated sales, the method of competitive sale gives the public a sense of transparency, even though the sale will be subject to market conditions on the day of the sale. A negotiated sale could result in better rates, but there's no way of knowing that possibility beforehand. After our October 24th, and we do the publishing, and then the sale date is approved, the chairman and the auditor will sign the bid award for the bond sale on December 5th, 2017. I'm here to answer any questions, as is Mr. Grimman.
Does anyone have any questions for Bob? Or Mr. Grimman, do you have any comments you'd like to make? Not currently. Okay, thank you. With that, is there any other new business? And you'll be bringing this back
We
in
will
a
on
couple
the-
weeks?
On the 24th, and like I said, we'll be looking for approval of the publication dates, and that's why this is before you today, is because we became aware of the publication dates with Thanksgiving working in there and everything. We wanted to make sure we had plenty of time to do that. But the publication dates and then to authorize the sale as going forward on December 5th. That's
Okay.
what we'll be asking for on the 24th.
Thank you. Any other new business? Any old business? If not, I'd like a motion to go into executive session for personnel and litigation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into exec for personnel and litigation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. We'll need about